Good morning. This is Pierre Gary here, your daily motivator, always here to challenge, inspire, and motivate. So this morning I'm talking to you about what it means to be the boss. Are you really the boss? And let me qualify this. Of course, if you're looking at this episode name, there are dots after each letter. B.O.S.S. And I'm going to explain what each one stands for. But in your business today, before we even go to business, let's talk about this week. On episode 466 here, I want you to go back and look at the prior episodes. Look at the prior episodes and see with me that what I'm talking about is the ability for you to actually build transitional income. And I'm calling it purposely transitional income because you must recognize the importance of actually transitioning from a full-time income to now creating a new income with your business. And again, a lot of us, like I've done, we've transitioned from a full-time job into a full-time business. And if you haven't yet done that, I know you're caught between a dream and a job right now. And it's a tough place to be sometimes because your vision, in one sense, in terms of what you see and what you know you can do, are completely two different things. Meaning you've got a vision of who you are on the job and you've got a vision of what's going on and how you can change things. So let's get into it. First, you've got to become a boss. What is it to be a boss? Number one, you got to build your audience. This is the first part of building your business. You got to build the audience. If you don't have an audience, you don't have anybody to sell to, period. And you may say, well, I'm not doing my business to sell to anybody. Well, you don't have a business. Business is done for profit if you're building for profit. And of course, there are three reasons to build. Number one, for income, which is where most people build. And then eventually they recognize, wait a minute, I've got a passion for something. Number two, for influence, because that passion translates into influence very easily. And number three, for those that have made it to a point where they are impacting the world around them, for impact. So which position are you choosing? Income, influence, or impact? If you want to build a community, obviously you're building for influence up front. That community will bring you income as well. But in the end, you're really building for impact because you're going to leave people in a better place than where you found them. And your podcast, the business rather, listen to me talk about podcasts because that's also another type of business. But my point is this. As you're building that business, you got to build the audience. For any type of business you're building, you need an audience. So my question to you is, are you building an audience? Because if you're not, you don't have a business. The first B in BOSS stands for build an audience. Now, what about the second letter, the O? The O, once you've built the audience, you've done the first part. Now you need to optimize the business. You've built an audience, which means people are starting to come into a funnel. They're starting to see what it is you have to give them as your free gift, your free offer, your irresistible offer, your lead magnet. Check out episode 445 to learn more about these 7 types of lead magnets that I talk about. Again, that's eonthemove.com/podcast 445, or just go to eonthemove.com/podcast and you can see a list of all the podcasts. But anyway, my point to you is this. You want to build and you want to make sure you optimize what you've built. You need to go back and optimize your funnels. You need to go back and make sure that your funnels are set up to nurture people as they come in. See, one of the worst things you can do is not follow up consistently with your prospects and, more importantly, with your customers. So, number one, you need to be following up. You need to be building something where you're giving people value. And so optimizing as you're building is the second step in being the boss. What about the next step? The next step in being the boss is scaling. So you've built a business, you're happy with what you built. You went back and you optimize all your funnels, make sure that as people are coming through, you're doing a much better job nurturing them, and you've got better upsells. You're making sure that your average order value, that's part of optimizing, is absolutely going well. But now you're ready to scale. And to scale, what you have to do now is understand you need to put this in front of way more people. You need to get out to a larger audience, number one. And the current audience that you have, you need to tweak it. You need to check your nurturing. You need to check your nurturing sequences. You need to make sure that you are actually bringing people closer. Maybe you're doing events, and you're bringing folks a lot closer to you in that business. That's part of scaling. Scaling also means, look, if my business right now is yielding only, let's say, the lifetime customer value. So each customer that comes in, maybe to acquire a customer, it costs you $10. Sounds expensive, right? But at the end of the day, for every customer you acquire, that $10 that it costs you, by the time a customer has spent a year in your funnel, that customer is spending $500 with you. That's not a bad exchange. For $10, you're getting a $500 exchange in return. Now you need to start looking at your lifetime customer value. You need to start looking at things like, how much is the average order value as the customer comes through? You need to start looking at your gaps in your funnel. This is part of scaling. Of course, sounds like you're optimizing things. Yes, but now you got to scale your absolute lifetime customer value, because now you want to make sure if all you were making with a customer when they came through in terms of value were delivering enough value for them to exchange $500 with you. Now you've got to deliver enough value that they're exchanging $1,000 with you. So now you can scale that business 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x. And sometimes it may start with 10% increase, 20% increase before you can even get to 2x. And that's okay. But now let's go to the last S. And this is the most important part of being a boss. Remember, build it, optimize it, scale it, and sustain it. If you're scaling, that means you're now growing. That means growth means there's new pains in your business. Growth means now you've got to recognize you need a bigger team, because the team's role is to sustain what you've built. You see, you don't have a business until you put in place a team, because you by yourself is not the business now. Don't get me wrong. You may be able to scale your business beyond 7 figures all by yourself. But you come to a point where, as one of my mentors put it, between 1 and 5 mil, you're not going any higher. And now you need to revamp things. And sustainability now means is what you're doing something that you can keep moving forward with. And of course, sustainability means if you're growing, can you sustain that growth? Is this something that you can maintain? Is this something that's going to make life more difficult for you than it is worth it? Do you have enough people on your team? Sustainability causes you to think about optimizing things as well. Sustainability says, well, if we want to scale to X, how many new people do we need to sustain the rate at which people are ordering stuff? All these things you need to be thinking about. This is a business. Remember, you're growing your business like you would be growing a child. Your child is going to come to a point where they need bigger sneakers, for example, because their feet are growing. They're going to come to a point where they need different type clothes. Sustainability is being able to feed them, and as they're growing, giving them new opportunity, new clothes, and everything else. This is part of sustainability. You're raising something here. So building a business, you've got to build teams. And you've got to make sure that these teams understand what it is that you do so that they can run with you. So being a boss, again, the question is, before you say, Pierre, I'm going to start building that business, you need to start thinking of yourself as a boss. And as a boss, even though everybody wants to be their own boss, you need to make sure you are going clearly and making sure that you are looking at your business and specifically whether or not you can be the boss. Because to be the boss, you have to be able to build it, optimize it, scale it, and sustain it. And building it obviously starts with building the audience. Optimize has a lot to do with nurturing your leads. And scaling has a lot to do with, think about your cost per leads, your lifetime customer value. And sustainability has a lot to do with what's the big plan, what's the roadmap, and how you're going to build bigger teams to keep this thing growing. So again, this is Pierre Laguerre, your daily motivator. I hope that I've challenged, inspired, and motivated you today to think about being the boss in your business. Check out prior episodes. And certainly I look forward to your comments. Let me know how this is challenging you. I'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great day.